We've come to the South Wales coast to hear about an ambitious project to generate clean, green electricity.
We're in Port Talbot, we'd class this as Port Talbot, almost just outside the harbour here. Behind us we've got the port and the harbour itself. So we've got some ambitious plans. The projects in the Celtic Sea have the opportunity to create up to 10,000 jobs. Floating offshore wind is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Wales.
What's the timescale for that?
The planning application itself could take up to 18 months to be approved, and we would expect port construction to start some point in 2027.
This is what it could look like. Enough offshore wind turbines to power 4 million homes. It would be a new chapter in the story of Britain's journey to a greener economy. Looking back at us here in the bay is the century-old Port Talbot Steelworks. Thousands of people around here rely on this place for a living. It also has its sights on a greener future. But that future, and the time it could take for it to become a reality, could come at a huge cost for this community and others like it across the UK.
Well, there's the steelworks coming into sight, and it is huge, and it's worth remembering that it's the single biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in Britain. It's a really big polluter.
And even though it belches out dust on a daily basis and dominates what is a stunning landscape, it is loved, even revered by locals.
Now, Tata Steel, the owners, have some ambitious plans to make this place greener, but it will cost around 3,000 jobs. And industries across Britain are grappling with the same dilemma if they're to meet strict government targets to stop climate change.
Steel is about as far from a green product as you can get. For every tonne of steel made here, 2 tonnes of carbon are produced.
We'll go up now to the cast house floor where the iron is coming out of the bottom of the blast furnace.
You can already smell the sulphur.
This is Pete Quinn. He's leading Tata Steel's move to make a more environmentally friendly steel.
Tata says the coal-fired blast furnaces are getting to the end of their lives, and a new electric arc furnace is planned that would use scrap metal to make cleaner, greener steel, at a cost of £1.25 billion. The UK government has agreed to pay Tata £500 million towards it.
What's the time scale for getting that electric arc furnace up and running?
In very approximate terms, we think 4 years. Now, the process of actually beginning the build and seeking all of the approvals can't start until we've completed what we need to do, which is a proper, in good faith consultation with all of the relevant stakeholders, but not least the people who work here.
Because you want to shut the blast furnaces down in order to build a new one?
Absolutely, and that clearly has an impact on people.
Shutting the blast furnace down is irreversible. 2,800 Tata workers are now being urged to take voluntary redundancy. The hope is that those workers can find jobs elsewhere, with the help of a £100 million transition fund paid for by Tata and the government. But with livelihoods on the line, the workers and their families aren't giving up the fight for their jobs.
I love my fish tank. It's awesome. I love it, like I said, especially in the late evening.
I've come to meet Jason Wyatt, who, as you've probably guessed, is a big fan of tropical fish. He's been an electrical engineer at the steelworks for the past 25 years.
Paw, other paw. Good boy.
His wife Stacey's here too, and 11-year-old daughter Lily, and their dogs Ernie and April. He's also a union representative and thinks Tata are making a mistake shutting down the furnaces.
How would you describe their approach to this?
It's been crap, in all honesty. They're asking people to save the business with forfeiting their jobs. The top and bottom of it is. So yeah, it's hard work.
This is your son coming in.
That's my boy, yeah.
Hello. Hello, hiya. No, it's all right. We're just doing some filming. Hi, Tyler. How are you doing? I'm Nick.
All good.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, all good.
Good. We're just chatting about how your dad feels about the current situation at Tata.
He was hoping to apply for an apprenticeship there himself this year as well. Yeah. He's been in college doing
Obviously that's gone out the window now, so.
I think it's wrong what Tata Steel are doing to their workers. Obviously, lots of them have worked there for years, do you know what I mean? And sometimes, in a way, it's like this if they're just turning their back on everyone and they don't really care about how it's going to affect people, how it's going to affect their families.
And Tata say the future is green steel and that they want to turn the plant into a green plant. Do you believe them?
We're not opposing the sort of green steel agenda then and the building of electric arc. What we're opposing right now is the way in which we're transitioning. We can keep a blast furnace going until, or at least until we've got the electric arc furnace online. And there it is, Tata Steel. We could be seeing a floating wind farm built out there, made right here, with steel from there.
The Resolution Foundation estimates that around 1.3 million UK industrial jobs like Jason's could be affected by the drive to get to net zero. In the quest to go green, there will be winners and losers. Tata say that their redundancy package is pretty good.
Well, on paper, the redundancy package is attractive, compared to statutory minimum, but people need to understand it's still costing 2,800 livelihoods. That's 2,800 families across the South Wales area affected by this. That's 2,800 opportunities in an industry that won't be there anymore.
Tata dominates the job market and the landscape in Port Talbot, but in the hills around the plant, there's a glimpse into what future opportunity could look like.
You see them when you're driving by the motorway and you don't realise until you get right underneath them how massive they are.
This could be the beginning of something new here, not replacing the steel industry, but working alongside it.
So we're working our way up this windy mountain track to the site of the biggest onshore wind farm in England and Wales. 76 wind turbines, producing about 15% of the electricity needs of Wales.
We're in a global market, we're competing with global net zero. Everybody's being required to transition as fast as we possibly can.
Britain will need more wind farm developments like this one if net zero targets are to be met.
We've been down in Port Talbot. There's a lot of concern about their own industry there. We know that it's likely that 2,800 people are going to be made redundant. When they're told that the green transition is a good thing, what's in it for them?
There's a real opportunity at the moment. There's £100 million been set aside with the Transmission Board. That is a fund that could be directed to support people to come into this sector.
The government says it's aware that the drive to net zero could cost ordinary families. That's why it's pushed back some of its climate change targets from 2030 to 2035. Labour says it wants to create a public-owned energy company to make Britain less reliant on foreign energy imports and reduce household bills. But it's just an idea at the moment.
Would you say that governments have dragged their heels in anticipating industries declining and new industries emerging and the time it takes for that to transition?
I think so. We've known about climate change for an awfully long time, and it is a shortcoming that we haven't realised it in that time period.
And when a wind farm like this one is built, just 30 people are needed to run it.
That's not a Tata Steel scale of employment, is it? And so you could forgive people for being sceptical about the promises made for the green transition.
You could, absolutely, and I think we have to bear in mind that onshore wind is the runway to offshore.
In other words, onshore's all very well and good, but the really big benefits to jobs, to the economy, to generating clean electricity, well, that's out to sea. The wind turbines that are planned here off the coast of Port Talbot are 300 metres high. That's the height of the Eiffel Tower. And the floating bases are the size of football pitches. Tata hopes in the next few years they can make the steel platforms that the turbines sit on. These plans seem so close, but yet so far away for the Tata workers.
How important is it that the plans that you've outlined, A, actually materialise, and history tells us that sometimes they don't, and B, that it involves this community, its people, and its economy so that this place doesn't die like a lot of people worry it is going to do?
Yeah, I understand there's an immense amount of worry at the moment throughout the community, and I think ABP's role in this project is to deliver the project as soon as we can and bring those job opportunities forward.
It's an iconic part of the landscape around here. Like you know, as you're entering, then that this is Port Talbot, and Port Talbot is the steelworks, so to speak.
When you look at the plant, Tyler, what do you see?
I had in mind that getting an apprenticeship in Tata, and obviously I'd be set really.
The green revolution, before we see it and touch it and taste it, is going to take years, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
can you wait that long?
Well, not necessarily really, because obviously I'm at a bit of a point in my life now where I want to start like securing my future.
All this talk of decarbonisation of steelmaking at Port Talbot, it's all going to take place here. And what we've got in front of us within our existing steel plant is where the new electric arc furnace is going to be located. So it doesn't look much now. It's just a blank canvas really.
You can understand the reticence and the fear. Going back to 40 years ago when nothing was reindustrialised out the back of the closure of the coal mines, the closure of the shipyards. There are communities that have within their DNA a mistrust of big grand industrial plans that are being talked about on their doorstep.
There is no doubt that there is some anxiety, and we're really as a company really mindful of that, very respectful of it, and trying to do everything we can to ease this transition, to make it as smooth as it possibly can be. We do believe that what we're doing will create a better future, not just for Port Talbot, but for the whole of the UK. What we're doing is difficult, but it's necessary.
Shame on you!
Jason is travelling the country now, drumming up support for the union and the steelworkers.
Oh my God, Jason, the man!
It's an honour to meet you. They are, right at this very moment, trying to destroy the livelihoods of 2,800 people. There is nothing left. Port Talbot is the last bastion of heavy industry in South Wales. So we need to fight. We need to stand up and fight. Thank you very much.
Relations between Tata Steel and some of its workers are tense, and the unions are threatening strike action.
When we talk about the green transition, we talk about a just transition, not to the detriment of businesses, the economy, communities, workers and their families.
We believe it is a just transition. The alternative isn't to keep this running. The actual alternative to what we're doing is for this to close and for there not to be any steel making in Port Talbot anymore. Now that absolutely isn't a just transition.
Britain's journey to a greener future is a necessary one, but the stakes are high. The dilemma, the risk, is that it could do more harm than good for those caught in the middle.